if low oil prices are the key to lower inflation and our administration wants lower interest rates, I believe they will wait as long as possible to refill the strategic oil reserve, which will let all of that extra supply hit the market, which is going to drop oil prices potentially even to pre-war levels, which is then going to impact inflation in the other direction.
All right, we're going to go ahead and jump right in today. We've got some news. So, as each week, if you're joining, I saw in the chat someone said, "Hey, this is my first Motivational Monday." So, just to preference kind of what we do here every single week, both Robert Palmer and I walk you through what's happening in the market, the key data points that help you understand what's happening so that you can develop strategies to serve your consumers at the highest level. And of course, giving you some motivation to make it through the week and help you understand what's happening at the brokerage level. So, with that being said, some of the things that we've been watching is the interest rates and how that's being affected and how the conflict in, the Middle East and how all of those things put together to understand what is happening with our rates and give you at least as much a prediction as we can of where things are going. And so this week, Robert, we're kind of talking about, the inflation numbers and kind of where that's at, the resilient market. We've still seen transactions continue to happen. Maybe people are just becoming normalized to the rates. Kind of walk us through what are we seeing our most recent data points?
Yeah, I mean, I know we got a couple headlines we want to talk through if we can get those
Yeah.
updated. Because it's funny, like I feel like this headline in particular really oversells what's going on. Better mortgage spreads are still keeping home sales positive. I don't think, I mean, I think better mortgage spreads are a small part of what's keeping home sales positive, but rates are still pretty bad. They're not as bad as they could be. So remember, we talked about this, I don't know, what's it been now? It feels like years ago, but I think it was like February. So 4 months ago, maybe 5 months ago. Yeah, the Fannie and Freddie were instructed by the White House to start purchasing mortgage-backed securities in order to lower the spread between the 10-year treasuries and mortgage rates because those had kind of gotten out of control as rates were higher. And so that's been happening since then. And initially it was great. It got rates to touch the fives for a little while, but there's only so much they can do, right? Because the word spread means the difference between the 10-year treasury yield and the average mortgage rate. And so usually those two things move together. So as the 10-year goes up, mortgage rates go up with it. But by reducing that spread, by buying those mortgage-backed securities, even though the 10-year went up, the mortgage rate stayed kind of the same, but then eventually started going up with it because the spread can only get so narrow. And we've talked a lot about that on past Motivational Mondays. So while yes, interest rates could be worse, even worse than they are today, mortgage rates, based on where the 10-year treasury is, I don't think that's the main thing that's keeping home sales positive. We've talked a lot about consumers' ability to kick the can down the road. And you kind of touched on it too, Matt. Like, are people just getting used to these higher rates? And so the best way that I think about this, the best example I'm able to give is we have this lock-in effect, right? There are people that say, hey, I've got a 2.5% mortgage rate and I'm not leaving and taking a mid sixes or a low sevens. So I'm just gonna stick it out. I'm gonna keep living where I am. Maybe I don't have enough bedrooms because we had a kid. Maybe I had to return to office and that is an hour drive from my house, but I deal with it every day because I just refuse to give up that super low interest rate. And this is the lock-in effect that has kept inventory mostly restrained. And yes, inventory is higher than it was maybe 18 months ago, 2 years ago, but it's still very low by historic levels. There's just not enough inventory out there, which is why home prices have stayed mostly stable across the country. So, but here's the example I give people. So every single month, the consumer makes a mortgage payment and they are amortizing that mortgage. Fun fact, the word amortize literally means to kill. You kill the loan over time by making payments, and that amortizes it from the balance you have today all the way down to zero over 15 or 30 years. Well, if you took out a 15-year mortgage in 2020 when rates first dropped, you're now coming up on 6 years into that mortgage. And so you're paying off a lot of it, like you're getting through there, right? Like the time is passing. And so what's happened since you took out that really low rate mortgage in 2020 is your balance is going down, especially if you're on a 15-year fix, which a lot of people did during the pandemic refi boom. And at the same time, your home price is going up, your home value is going up. And so that the spread, the gap, the amount of equity you have, which is not locked at a 2.5% rate, right? There's no interest rate on your equity is widening. And so the example I share with people, I say, hey, think about it this way. If you had $1 million house and you had a $10,000 mortgage on it, even if that $10,000 mortgage was a 0% interest rate, would you care? Right. And the answer is no. No one's going to keep living in $1 million house because they have a $10,000 mortgage with a really great rate, even if it was 0% interest rate, because the gap between the value of the house and the amount of the mortgage is just too wide. It doesn't matter anymore. And so I don't know where exactly that hits, but what I can tell you is every single month that goes by, home values continue to go up or stay firm, and mortgage balances continue to go down. And so the impact of those super low interest rates from back in 2020, 2021, even the very beginning, the first couple of months of 2022, right before we opened LPT when rates were good, those are all getting smaller and smaller and smaller on the balances. And so, one, the value of that low rate is becoming less and less because as the balance goes down and the home value goes up or stays stable, it's less impactful. So that's one big factor. And at the same time, too, that pain factor is getting worse, right? People need to move. People need to buy. People need to sell. Usually there's about 5.1, 5.2 million people a year buying and selling existing homes. We've been stuck at 4 million for the last 3 years. That means every year, roughly a million people are making a decision to wait because of that interest rate, because of new interest rates, affordability, whatever it is. That's 3 or 4 million people who needed to move. Something happened. They had a kid, they got a new job across town, they need to downsize, they need to relocate, whatever it is, they needed to move and they made a choice not to do it because of mortgage rates. And so I believe that's the bigger impact. I think that the pain factor, the delay, the kicking the can down the road is getting harder and harder and harder, particularly for people who've been doing it for almost the full 4 years now, right? They needed to do something in April of 2022, right when rates first went up, and they haven't done it. And now they find themselves in July of 2026 still dealing with whatever thing happened all the way back in April 20 of 2022. How long are they going to continue to delay that decision? So those delays are getting harder and harder. The value of those low rate mortgages are naturally getting less and less and less because the balance goes down. And I think that's really what's driving positive home sales. Now, if rates come down, more great headlines in the news, all the things that we talked about in February, right before the war in the Middle East broke out, if we can get that happening again, we will see more buyers come. That's what's going to lead to boomsday. Lower mortgage rates are a part of that. But I think right now, while the mortgage spreads are important, because if rates were another 30, 40 basis points higher on the mortgage side, I think things would maybe be a little worse. But I think it is those other factors, the amount of time people have been kicking the can down the road, plus the reduced benefit of that ultra low rate mortgage. I think those are the actual factors that are keeping home sales positive. So on this particular headline, I disagree with Housing Wire. What do
All
we got
right.
next?
Okay. Yeah, no, that's perfect. I
I
love
think we
that.
have
So
another headline. Let me see how I feel about that one. Yeah.
yeah, yeah. So this one actually, just so that in case you're not aware, you talked about this, constantly, which is that what's happening within our industry should not be what's affecting the consumer, right? Like if two brokerages are fighting or Zillow, whatever that looks like, that should not have a negative impact on the consumer, and
Are
sometimes
we
it does,
fighting with
right?
somebody? I don't know about it.
No, no, I'm not
I
saying
know.
us. I'm just saying like in general, like
I
war
know.
with inside
We're
of
just out here
the
helping people
industry.
buy and sell real estate. Yeah.
Right. That's our focus. But and
Yeah.
to your point, we want to make sure that that stays the focus, right? Because sometimes the distraction in the industry can spill over to the consumer, and that's not what we want. So this next headline is specifically about that. So if we could put up that next headline, give us your thoughts on as we see this reheat again.
Yeah, so remember this started, I mean, again, a couple months ago. Time is just, this year is flying by. I can't believe we are halfway through 2026. Yeah, so you've got Zillow and Compass and this big battle going on around private listings and public listings and listing standard policies. And it really, again, I think it's a lot of noise. I think if the MLS breaks, that is something we will all have to deal with. But I think we're a really far way away from that actually happening. The Chicago MLS, MRED, took an interesting stance and pulled all of their listings off of Zillow. I think it lasted for like a whopping 48 hours before a federal judge came in and said, hey, put them back. This is going to harm consumers. And basically, like, you guys fighting is not a reason to harm consumers. So they're back in court. We're going to be watching it closely because I think if it does tilt, right? What we really try to do for you guys is I want you to be able to keep your head down. I want you to be able to stay focused on what is most important, right? We are real estate first. Our consumers need us to help guide them through very tough decisions about buying and selling their homes and when's the right time and what's the right house and getting the right things negotiated and getting their mortgage and the home inspection and all the things that we do. And so we need to keep our head down on that. And so my commitment to you all is we're going to watch these headlines, and if these things start to tip into the realm of okay, we should be concerned, like this may actually change the dynamic of MLS, and we may not have access to all the inventory anymore, or we may have to go log into every individual brokerage's portal one day to find their inventory. I don't think we're anywhere near that, but if that changes, you will hear it first on Motivational Monday. But we want you to be aware of what's going on, and so we are watching this closely. We are making sure that this does not tip over from noise into actual something we need to be worried about. And if it does, LPT will get involved. I mean, I think we're the sixth largest brokerage now by agent count, six or seven by transaction count, kind of depending. Because remember, when an agent first joins, it takes a while before we get all their transactions. So there's a lag between our growth and transaction growth, but our transactions are still growing like crazy. So anyway, we will take a stance if needed. Like we'll get involved. Right now, I still put this one in the category of noise. I think that open and free access to inventory is what's best for consumers. I think consumers being able to find their home, the future inventory on websites and through the MLS is important. So, but we're going to keep an eye on that one. That one I put more in the noise category. The first headline about interest rates, I put more in the real category. We have to be able to coach our consumers through that. And one other thing I'll hit back on, there's no headline for this. This is more like happening behind the scenes in like the Bloomberg terminal feeds that I read. There's a real thought that there's going to be a glut of oil as things clear up in the Middle East, as the strait reopens, all of the however many millions of barrels that were locked up and couldn't be shipped out are now starting to move again. And there are some oil traders, some crude oil traders who are kind of sounding the alarm quietly behind the scenes that oil prices may come down dramatically. Because if you look at the amount that the US released from the Strategic Reserve, sanctions were lifted on some of these countries, allowing them to move oil more freely to try to keep things in line. Well, now as all that pent up supply starts to be released and hit the market, that's going to bring oil prices down dramatically. The big question will be, when will the US refill those strategic oil reserves? Well, that's an interesting decision to make, right? If low oil prices are the key to lower inflation and our administration wants lower interest rates, I believe they will wait as long as possible to refill the strategic oil reserve, which will let all of that extra supply hit the market, which is going to drop oil prices potentially even to pre-war levels, which is then going to impact inflation in the other direction. Because remember, our last couple of hot inflation readings were driven by energy. It was the energy carve out, which is oil prices. So if oil prices go the other way dramatically, they could actually like level out and eliminate the inflation, right? So if normal inflation is like 2.5, and then oil prices were kicking it up to 4, if oil prices go dramatically the other way, they could pull inflation sub 2, which would be a super interesting situation for the Fed. And this again is why I think that the current Fed is head faking us toward higher rates, because they know all this is happening. They know what's going on with the oil traders before a guy like me figures it out reading a Bloomberg terminal. I think interest rates are going to do something spectacular in the near future. We just got to let all this data make its way through. But the key is the strait has to stay open. Oil has to keep flowing, and that means this peace accord has to stick. And that's maybe the piece the part I'm concerned about, because I mean it's volatile, right? It's volatile. There's been, after the kind of peace treaty started, there were other attacks, retaliations. So that's the thing we're really watching is if everything plays out in our favor and oil does start flowing and we see too much oil supply for the amount of demand we have, I think we could be in a really good inflation position here in the near future, and the Fed will jump all over that.
Yeah, awesome, awesome. Okay, well, thank you for that breakdown. That we are all hoping for that positive news for more than one reason, but of course because of the benefits to the industry and cost of living and all the things that you mentioned. Like that would be a fantastic right move in the direction of our booms that we talk about. So continue to do the work today. Like, this is gives you the hope and the understanding of what's happening and what data points we're analyzing to say, hey, should these things happen, here's maybe the likely outcome. But what you have to do today is continue to build those relationships and put your head down and put the consumer first and make those strategies about today's market, knowing that this could be on the horizon. So thank you for that breakdown. We'll continue to keep you updated each week as this progresses. Now I kind of want to switch over to brokerage updates. And so this month, right on time, we've got our fantastic broker of the month that we would love to honor with our broker of the month award. And we know that they work so hard, as all of our employees do, with inside of LPT, ensuring that we keep the lights on and transactions flowing and all the things that we do. So would love to introduce our broker of the month. Robert, I'll give you the award.
Okay, let's put the slide up. There we go. The amazing Lacey Pipes out of Texas. Great job, Lacey. We've got an amazing group of people in Texas making sure that our agents are taken care of. Lacey's been an absolutely fantastic part of our team. Congratulations to you, Lacey, on Broker of the Month. I do know that we processed a record number of transactions last month, our highest transaction count ever by a decent margin. So that was great. And again, just big shout out and thank you to the staff. The seasonality of this business can be tough, and it takes amazing brokers like Lacey and all of our amazing broker staff, compliance staff, DA staff, everybody across the board. So proud of you guys for digging in and making sure that we give our agents the absolute best experience possible as we navigate what's been an interesting market. Some years the volume comes earlier, some years the volume comes later, but we finished up an absolutely amazing June, and thank you to everybody for being a part of that. Congrats, Lacey.
Yeah, fantastic. Okay, I'm going to give you some quick other updates for some of the classes that we've got this week. Tomorrow, July 7th at 2 p.m., we have the Momentum Mastermind, and that is for the attendees of our SpringCon event. We are going to host an event here. We would love to hear, kind of your success stories, things that you've implemented from your time here at SpringCon. And of course, we want to ensure that we are creating a pathway so that you can continue those relationships that were built here as well, too. And so that will be tomorrow at 2 p.m. And then on Wednesday, we have an additional training. We have our retrat training. I'll turn it over to you, Robert, to see if there's any word that you want to say before we talk a little bit further about this. But if you're looking for this CRM, we actually do have a corporate deal that you can get directly through LPT. You're going to learn tons about it July 8th at 10 a.m. Rechat's going to be hosting that and walking you through all the features and benefits of that. So if you're searching for a new CRM or you're curious about that, you've heard about it, we would love for you to attend this and have an understanding of what it is. It is available directly through LPT. Part of our many value propositions that we offer here. We do have a promo video, but I'll turn it over to you, Robert, to see your
Yeah, real
thoughts.
quick, I want to jump in on this. So, we tried to launch ReChat, I don't know if what it was like 6 or 8 months ago, and a lot of you had a terrible experience. In fact, if you had a terrible experience with ReChat, I want you to put it in the chat right now. They were not ready for a company of our size and scale. And as much as we try to vet that and we try to figure it out, there were just a lot of problems with getting MLSs connected. They didn't understand the breadth of LPT, and that basically we have agents in almost every MLS across the country. It was really bad. And so again, like, we want to own that. There were people we had to refund money to. And again, we never want you to have a bad experience. So first of all, like, apology from me. We tried to vet. We thought we were in a good spot. It did not work out. What I will tell you is the fact that we are bringing them back now is because we believe we have worked those kinks out. Matt Hodge has spent a ton of time working with them, understanding those workflows, understanding those processes, understanding what is it going to look like to get all these MLS turned on in a really meaningful way and in a timely way. Because I think ReChat is an absolute amazing piece of software. The marketing is fantastic. The AI built into it, the ability to quickly spin up single property websites and social media marketing. Like, we did the deal with them because we thought it was a fantastic piece of technology. The issue became, the MLS footprint, because they're dependent on MLS data. And there's a lot of MLSs across the country. There's a lot of different data layers and impacts with those MLSs. And so we feel really good. And so kind of it was a tale of two worlds. If you were in an MLS that was already integrated with ReChat, you had an amazing experience, right? Everything was smooth. You got set up. You were able to use and rock and roll. And so that was a lot of the bigger MLSs in the country. If you were with a smaller MLS, that's where we had the problems. And so we feel really good about it. Again, Matt Hodge has spent a lot of time working with the senior leadership of ReChat. We remain committed to the partnership. We remain working it out with them, but we feel really good about where we are, good enough that we are announcing a relaunch of it here on Motivational Monday, which we do not take lightly. And so if you do have issues, obviously let us know in the tickets, but we expect a much different experience this time around. But just know the experience was very MLS dependent. For folks that had a great experience because ReChat was set up versus folks that did not. So make sure you tune in on Wednesday, learn more about ReChat, but just know we are very plugged in with what's going on with the MLSs and making sure we have a different, better experience this time around.
That's right. Fantastic. We do have a promo video if you want to play that. If you're not sure what ReChat is, Robert, do you want us to go ahead and do
Sure, let's do
that?
it.
All right. Fantastic. Fantastic. I would love to get all that done by 10 a.m. You saw how quickly that time went. That's great. So we'd love for you to attend on Wednesday. You will learn all about that and see if it's right for you. Like Robert said, fantastic piece of software. We spent a lot of time ensuring that we can firm up the experience for you. And again, if you're enjoying it, we are excited that you continue to enjoy that. If you are new to it, we would love for you to join us this Wednesday at 10 a.m.
Yeah, so
Okay.
I saw a lot of questions in the chat. I would encourage you to log in Wednesday to get all those answered. The one thing I do want to say is, like, it's your choice, right? Lofty, Follow a Boss, ReChat, like, we are agent choice. We are here to provide options to you guys. You decide, where you want to make your investment, what's most impactful for you. ReChat is not free. It's $99 a month, which is a price that we negotiated, again, for coming in early as a brokerage. Lots of interesting features. Tune in on Wednesday, get all your questions answered. I just wanted to really highlight it today because it is a restart. We tried this before. We had issues with the MLSs. We feel really good about where we are to bring this back into the ecosystem.
All right, fantastic. Okay, last thing we'll do real quick for brokerage updates. We have our solo practice growth. That is August 7th. The launch call is going to be August 7th at 12 p.m. If you've heard about that, we talked about that in the last couple of Motivational Mondays. I don't have really a lot of time to talk through that today, so go back to Motivational Mondays. You'll see exactly what that is. But the launch call will be August 7th, so we hope you join us if that's something that you think would impact your career and kind of help you on along that lines, we'd love for you to learn more about that. So August 7th, that would be a launch call. Okay, so with that being said, I'm going to
Yeah,
move real
go ahead,
quickly.
go ahead and sign up for that. We're going to be sending out information to folks like, well, the launch call is not for another 30 days. Signing up now lets us start to send you, we're going to send out some cool like information along the way. You'll be the first to know what's going on with solo practice growth as we get closer if you are registered for this webinar. So we don't want to spam the entire brokerage with a bunch of info about solo practice growth. It's coming, but if you register for the webinar, that's basically telling us like, hey, I'm interested in this. And then we'll be giving you updates along the way as we get closer to that August 7th launch date.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. So we're going to go to LPT leadership in the news. Exciting news, Robert. I'll turn it over to you to walk us through kind of where our leadership teams are showing up within the industry.
Yeah, so this was exciting. So Housing Wire put out their, I think, Women of Influence. I don't want to get the title wrong. Housing Wire, Women of Influence. We had three of our amazing leaders recognized inside of that with Housing Wire. If we can get that graphic up, Dave. LPT Leadership in the News. So the Housing Wire 2026 Women of Influence. Congratulations to three of our amazing leaders. Natalie Cox, our SVP of Brokerage Operations and Agent Experience. Lauren Bowen North, our SVP of Lead Gen and Conversion. And then a new name that I think a lot of people don't recognize yet, which is Laura Ritter, our Chief Financial Officer. And so three of our amazing women leaders there recognized by Housing Wire. Really proud of them. And again, I realized we were putting this together when Laura joined us as our new CFO last year. We never really had a chance to talk about it. There was so much going on. There's been a lot of work going on in that department. So I want to take a moment today to kind of introduce Laura Ritter to the broader brokerage. We've got an additional slide about her. So Laura, 2026, again, Editor's Choice Women of Influence Award winner from Housing Wire, 2 decades plus of senior finance leadership in both public companies and private companies. Experienced operator in high growth, tech forward environments, leadership roles at PVH, Apple Leisure Group, Bed Bath and Beyond, Star Restaurants, and most recently a company called Olo that went public 3 or 4 years ago and then actually was taken back private shortly thereafter through a private equity deal. Deep expertise in financial planning and analysis, investor and SEC public company reporting, external audit oversight, and scaling accounting functions to support fast growing organizations. And again, if you look at LPT's history over the last 2 years, we are a very fast growing organization. Key strategic partner in helping, kind of translate my long-term vision into actionable financial frameworks, which is great, and was a central role in some of our recent M&A on the technology side, and has been really pivotal in dialing in and helping with our Canadian growth. So really, really proud to have Laura on the team. I can tell you one of the greatest leaders across any industry, and we are absolutely blessed. I've worked with a lot of amazing folks over the last, I guess I've been doing this for like 25, 30 years now. And I can tell you, Laura is absolutely amazing. As we looked at, kind of what we're building here, and LPT is a lot more than just a brokerage, right? We have listing power tools. We have our growth products. We have things like solo practice growth and team growth. We have our internal technology in Desi and LPT Connect. And so what we realized is we needed somebody with much broader experience than just real estate specific for the type of company that we've built. And so again, getting introduced to Laura through one of our New York-based consultants. She lives in New Jersey, spends a lot of time in the city on our behalf, but really proud, absolutely amazing leader, has made huge impact on the business in just her first year here, and really a huge impact on my ability to lead the business. So thankful for her, and congratulations to all three of our amazing female executives who are recognized by Housing Wire as women of influence.
That's fantastic. Fantastic. Congratulations. Okay. Well, we are going to end with our motivational mantra this week. If we could get that slide up. And so, I'll just kind of frame this with, one thing to keep the North Star. It's like when you're inside of real estate, there's all these new things that are coming inside the industry. Like, we have the BBA, and then you've got, the introduction of AI, and you've got leads. So you've got all these things that are constantly kind of moving the buck. And sometimes it's hard to remember exactly what is the most important thing. Like, what are we focused on in the industry? And for a while, things got a little murky. And I think that LPT has done a great job of bringing that true focus back, which is that we are here to serve the consumer at the highest level. We are here to help you hone your craft and sell more real estate, or sell your version of success of real estate. And that's what we want to stay solely focused on, because if you start to move the puck around all these things, before you know it, you can make decisions that maybe don't align with that purpose. And so today's mantra, which was integrity, if we could pull that back up again, So we can read off of that. Integrity is the only brand that never needs to be rebranded. So, Robert, I want to get your thoughts on this. Like, as you've gone through different industry cycles, you've seen where, the mortgage industry got a little bit crazy. I know that was part of your, whole thesis, which is like, hey, I saw what it did to people when it wrecked, when they got two of something. It had an adverse effect. And so maybe real estate has done that to a certain degree. What are your thoughts on keeping integrity like the brand that never needs to be rebranded?
Yeah, I think it's interesting because I really have found opportunity in my career when I see that failing on others, right? Like if you again thinking about the mortgage crisis, I launched my mortgage company in 2009, 2008, coming out of the financial crisis, a time when that industry's integrity was at an all-time low. And then you fast forward to, when we launched LPT Realty coming out of 2022. The NAR settlement was out there, lawsuits, again, a lot of stuff. And again, I think consumer perception of the integrity of this industry was again at a low. And so what I find is there's an opportunity to come in and lead with doing the right thing, lead with putting consumers first, putting our agents first, leading with amazing tools like listing power tools that can tangibly change the trajectory of how a listing is marketed and sold. And I think that's really important. And so I think where, I've always tried to, live my life from a place of integrity. I try to, lead my two little amazing girls from a place of integrity. But I think what's been most visible to me is the opportunity that other people's lack of integrity or industries' lack of perceived integrity has created for me, in my career and for all of us to be able to step in and do something differently. I think when you look at the overall industry level with the NAR stuff, you look at certain brokerages out there who have had black eyes in the news. I think integrity is critical. And I think as entrepreneurs, we all own that integrity at our individual level. Remember, LPT is the period at the end of your brand. It's why we designed the logo the way we did, three lowercase letters, the circle, the least intrusive shape. You can turn that logo whatever color you want. That means your brand comes first, right? But that also means you have a different level of responsibility to maintain the integrity of your personal brand, right? Our responsibility is to maintain the integrity of the LPT brand, the period at the end of yours, but you have to make sure you're maintaining the integrity of your personal brand because that's what the consumer aligns with. The consumer is choosing you, right? The tools that we provide, the opportunities we help with, that helps you win, that helps you succeed, but the consumer chose you, and we don't take that for granted, and you shouldn't either. And so I think it really is important that we make those right decisions, and we always consider in the decisions we make, am I leading from a place of integrity? Would I be proud to go home and tell my kids about this decision I made today, or tell my parents, or tell my family? And if the answer is no, then you really got to think about, is that the right move for your business? Because even though the short-term gain can sometimes be great, right? We saw that in the industry. We've seen that with other brokerages. Sometimes the short-term gain may feel like it's worth it, but the long-term impact of sacrificing that integrity, I think it's more than just not being able to be rebranded. It's something that it's very hard to ever recover from, And so I think integrity is critical. I think it is an important part of our brands. You all are in control of your brand. It's a big part of the LPT model. And so keep in mind the responsibility that means when it comes to how you lead with integrity, because we take that seriously each and every day as we think about how to lead this business and how we think about the period at the end of your brand.
Yeah, awesome, man. Thank you for that. I saw in the comments someone said RP for president. Fantastic. No, powerful
Jill,
words.
Jill has made it very clear she'll divorce me if I ever run for public office. So you guys are stuck with me. You guys are stuck with me here at LPT.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that with us. I know that you've seen, many cycles and many industries go through, kind of losing their way and maybe coming back from it. But sometimes they get far enough away that the integrity starts to get pulled down, and the impact of the consumer is ultimately impacted. And I know that's something that you never want to see happen here with inside of our LPT entrepreneurs. I know I did say we were going to end on that, but we actually do have some FallCon reminders real quick for the speaker applications and thing. Robert, I'll turn it over to you to walk us through kind of these last updates real quick for Falcon.
Yeah, so one of the things that we always try to do, and we did this last year, if you're at FallCon, I had these panels of LPT agents who got up on stage with me and helped with the sessions. And, I believe that conferences like FallCon are an amazing opportunity for us to give people who want to have that opportunity to speak, be on stage a chance. And so we have our internal speaker applications, right? So in addition to the folks that we'll bring in, outside expertise, the coaches, the folks who have speaking pedigrees and have blessed many stages, it's important to me that if we have agents inside of the LPT family who feel compelled to share their experiences, be a part of helping their fellow agents learn, that we have a mechanism to do that. And so this is kind of our internal speaker application, showcasing your expertise at FallCon. This can mean teaching a breakout session. This could mean teaching a panel where I'm on stage up there with you. And all of my panelists last year can share with you. I try to make that a very painless process. I'm there to help you get through it. I had one agent tell me she was super nervous. I'm like, don't worry, I'm right here with you on stage the whole time. We're going to get through this. And she did a great job and had an amazing time with it. So if you're interested in that, if you're interested in being a panelist, if you're interested in speaking, if you're interested in leading a breakout session, we want you to submit a speaker application. We do kind of want to understand your thoughts, what you want to talk about, how you think about things. So not a super detailed document, but a decent document you have to fill out there. We need you to apply by July 31st, and you must be a FallCon attendee. So in order to be one of our internal speakers like this, you need to already have your ticket to FallCon. Then you can apply to be one of our internal speakers, because it's really important to me that we give as many people a chance as possible to be a part of our messaging and a part of leading this amazing educational event.
Fantastic. Okay. All right. Well, we are going to announce our FallCon winners as we do each week, and then Robert, I'll turn it over to you for final thoughts for the week. So real quick, if we could get ready for our prizes, please. We have 3 winners, the direct line, so you can read exactly what that prize is. Nice job on all the sound effects today, Dave. All right, winner number 1. We have Nancy Kowalik. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you at FallCon. Winner number 2, Kim Gordon. Congratulations. And last but not least, Roscoe Douglas. Congratulations. Looking forward to seeing you at FallCon later this year. All right, guys, this will be our drawing for next week. We'll have 5 winners next week, and you'll see right there. If you and just so that you know, if you're new to this show, the way that you are entered into this is that you purchase your FallCon ticket. You're automatically enrolled into this drawing, and then we announce them each Motivational Monday, the winners. So those will be your winners. They're your prize for next week. All you need to do is have a FallCon ticket to be entered. And so, with that being said, Robert, I'll turn it over to you for final words for today.
Yeah, look, big weekend, Independence Day. We've got World Cup soccer going on, a lot of great stuff going on in the world, but we all have to stay focused, right? We have to stay focused on guiding our consumers through this crazy world right now of interest rates and economic uncertainty and even housing uncertainty in certain places. Inventory is tough. We have some houses moving very quick, some houses sitting. We have consumers on and off the fence, and we have to be that beacon of hope, that guiding light for our consumers, and we have to have them get through it, because the life doesn't stop, right? Real estate doesn't stop. There are all those people that are delaying the decision, but a lot of people are having to make those moves, whether it means interest rates aren't where they want them to be or not. And so that's my call out to all of you. That's our commitment to each other here at LPT. We continue to do the hard work. We continue to be there for our customers, our clients, to help guide them through the buying and the selling and making those tough decisions, being that consultant there to help them make the right choices for what most people is the largest financial transaction of their life. So with that, stay focused, stay committed. We'll see you guys back here next week on another amazing Motivational Monday. Thank you all for being a part of this amazing company and being on this journey with us. And we'll see you next week right back here on MM.